that's the wind view. Let's go back to the traditional radar view, the reflectivity view, and you can make out a bit of an inflow notch still right in through here. Not real impressive, not impressive enough to indicate that this is about to put down a tornado, which is good. There's another cell, though. Go to max 2. And I want to show you this cell because this cell also has one of those inflow notches, and it has also a big downdraft area right through here, that rear flank downdraft. These are straight line winds in this Boeing segment coming on through the northern part of Walton County and approaching Walton County into Holmes County now, and the southern part of Geneva County. This is a segment here that may produce some damaging winds, and then we have some potential for this area here, far southern Geneva County, to develop into a tornadic cell. Not seeing that quite yet, but there's certainly a possibility. There's a look at the debris tracker. We'll throw it up just to show, hey, we're okay for now. The velocity data here shows pretty good winds right in through this area, Royals Crossroads. That will pass off to the south likely of Geneva. I'm going to show you a different view, the storm relative velocity. This is using the Eglin radar. What I want to do is if I can get us to switch. So right there's the switch. These are winds here using the echo radar. These are winds blowing up towards the radar site. These are winds blowing away. So there's that area of rotation. It's pretty much right along the border. It's north of Highway 2 in Florida. It's not quite into Geneva County. It's more or less right along the border there with Geneva and Holmes County. So it's this area right in through here. Pretty close to Royals Crossroads, just to the east of there. This is that area of circulation that we are watching. This has the potential to form into one of these brief tornadoes, certainly producing gusty winds here, and maybe some hail mixing in as well. I've got a hail product. I can pop it up just to see if there's any indication. Yeah, so a little indication here of some hail as well with that cell. So there's a lot happening here in the southern part of Geneva County. We've got a pretty good inflow notch right in through here. So you get this little, you see that little notch. It is just a notch. It's just where the winds are blowing into that storm. And as the wind blows in, it kind of pushes the raindrops, in a little bit, and you get this notch to form. This indicates the downdraft, and there's some hail within that downdraft as well. So you've got some gusty wind-blown hail being blown down to the ground there in the southern part of Geneva County. There's also some hail likely, at least some small hail, just north of Geneva and then just northwest of Geneva. So updraft area here, lots of heavy rainfall, quite a few lightning strikes as well. You usually see the most lightning where you have the strongest updraft, because to get lightning, you need to have especially cold particles, ice crystals bumping into each other. It separates a charge in the sky, and then you get lightning strikes to form. So if you have lightning, you've got a good updraft. That updraft is right through here. That produces some hail in a situation like this. And then we've got that pocket of rotation right along 27, pretty much right along the border between Geneva County and Holmes County. So we're watching that. That's not a tornado warned area yet, but there's some potential for that to spin up into a tornado. We're also watching what is happening in Early County. Zach's over on Max 1. Zach, punch back over to Blakely and track that for a minute for me.
Yeah, I was looking at that one just southwest of Geneva, but yeah, we are watching this one here. It's put down some damaging gusts around the Blakely area. We have two different wind products that we can look at. This is storm relative. It accounts for the speed and direction of the storm, and then we have just base velocity that looks more ominous, because you see those pinks showing up there around Blakely. That's likely 60 to 70 mile per hour gusts in spots as that line surges on through the downtown area. And I think another 5-10 minutes we'll see the winds lighten up in the Blakely area as the Hillberg area is already getting a brief break from this here. But moving toward the east-northeast, now this is tornado warned. I'm not seeing any obvious tight rotation with this, but with these cells today, we've had potential for that. We did have at least one tornado. There was some debris lofted into the air, so we're watching for this to tighten up at any moment. But right now, it's that damaging wind threat. Hopefully, everybody is inside. If you're in the Damascus area, and I'll try to get a little closer here to show you some smaller communities. So Bancroft and Arlington right there, close to that warning. Damascus, and what is this road here? This is Billy Newberry Road, about to have some pretty strong gusts going down Billy Newberry Road. So hopefully you're getting out of the way of that. You don't want to be driving down 27 from County Road 282 to Blakely right now, because that road's getting hammered with damaging wind gusts. Now, even though we're seeing some pixels that are, well, we'll say around 69 or 70 miles per hour and a little bit shy of that there, it doesn't mean that we're seeing ground truth gusts up to 70, but between 60 and 70, I think we can't rule that out given the coloration that we're seeing here, the storm environment that we have, plenty of wind energy for these to feed off of. We're watching for any rotation, but that tornado warning, pop those back off there, that tornado warning is still in effect for northern parts of Early County, including Blakely, Damascus, and northeast of Columbia here in Houston County. That warning kind of edges off. Hillsburg, Columbia, still seeing some decent gusts going through there. I'll show you the reflectivity, and I'm not seeing much of a bowing structure as what we had a little while ago on that one, but still, it should be that way because we are seeing those really strong wind gust indication here. And storm relative, just another way to look at it, we do have that bowing feature a little more noticeable on this product, stretching just west of Arlington all the way south of Blakely. That's where those gusts are surging out ahead of the line. Now, these can easily throw down tree limbs, knock over some small trees at least, even maybe cut a power pole in half. There were a few reports where power poles were torn in half, trees thrown in roads. Some of this was in our area. Some of it was slightly north and west of the area, some of those counties in that area. But we're also watching for this storm over here. Now, there's two ways to look at it. I can toggle this kind of forward and backward to show you two different radar views, if it'll let me do that. Yeah, so not a very good view there, but we are watching that little pixel coloration north of Ponce de Leon and straddling Geneva County. I'll zoom in closer so you can get a better view of that. Maybe one more here. So this one is moving into eastern Geneva County. It's very broad rotation. You're seeing the green touch the reds. That's the couplet that we're seeing there. Not tightening up at the moment, but we're watching it closely because these have been producing. They've kind of been living up to their name. Hopefully only one tornado is what we had. We did see that one, but I hope there were not any more than that. But David, there's that other radar view. Sometimes it toggles into view there.
And there's one more. Do you see this? I'm going to take over for a second.
Okay.
Look south of Dothan in Houston County. This is 231. Let me zoom out here just a little bit. You see that little notch? There's Dothan, there's 231. This cell right through here, right along 231, not too far south of the National Peanut Festival Fairgrounds. There's some rotation with that cell as well, as you were kind of going back and forth there. Notice that, kind of zoomed in a little bit, and yeah, there's certainly a little bit of rotation. I'll go storm relative on this, and it's this area right in through here. Pretty good winds here inbound, so north of Hodgesville, there's Keaton's, and then you have a little bit of an outbound right here. So there's a little bit of a circulation here just east of 231. This is in Houston County, a little pocket here, some strong winds. This is moving eastward as well in association with this cell on radar. So there's not much to it. There's a little appendage sticking down, and this is that little, it's almost like a hook. There's a little rotation with that cell. I'm going to go back to the bigger view, and what Zach was doing too is we can toggle back and forth between the different radars. So this is using the Echo Fort Rucker radar. You have a lower scan in the sky. If I go up to a little bit of a higher scan in the sky, you see that really kind of stands out. So these are outbound, these are inbound, using the radar down there in Red Bay. We're blessed to have such good radar coverage in the Wiregrass. We really are. There are some parts of the country that just do not have the radar coverage that we have, but we have a good look there from the radar using Fort Rucker and using Eglin, and there's certainly some rotation with that cell as well. If I do that same thing using the radar here, again, some rotation showing up with this cell, although it's a little more stretched out than it was earlier, which is some good news. But again, that little area here stands out as well. If I go up to this area, I'm going to animate this for just a bit. Watch how that pocket of strong winds, this is a 1 hour animation, 1 hour. And it went from pretty much near the airport, Napier Field, all the way across Henry County and Early County, and that surging wind now is pretty much moving into the far eastern and northeastern parts of Early County. Right along 62 there, it's just a very windy ride, a lot of straight line winds, so there could be more than likely some straight line wind damage over parts of Early County from that line of storms accelerating eastward at a very, very good clip. Here's the big view. This is the prime time. We're in the main window here for these showers and storms, and as the days went on, we went from looking at a pretty solid line of storms in the computer model data for now to more of a broken line of showers and storms, and that's what's panning out. And the bad thing about a broken line of showers and storms is these more individual cells have more of a chance to tap into the rotation potential in the atmosphere and produce not only the straight line wind threat, which has been the main threat, but also the threat for some embedded rotation and isolated tornadoes. This cell really coming together off of the west and southwest side of Dothan, so more heavy rainfall about to move into Dothan. And notice all of these lightning strikes here showing up west and northwest of Dothan, the southern part of Dale County, the western part there of Houston County, all the way through Geneva County, looking at heavy rainfall, lots of lightning and very, very strong winds. That cell is whipping on through out ahead of the main line in Houston County, and that's the one that's had a little bit of rotation with it as well. So we've been monitoring multiple angles and multiple objects or products to try to determine, do we see any rotation that is strengthening? We have that ongoing tornado warning for Early County. That threat really didn't materialize as far as a tornado threat. We never saw that really good tightening, never saw a really good couplet that would indicate tornado. That's been a straight line wind event just blowing on through Early County in the past 20 minutes. Again, these cells moving at about 50 to 60 miles per hour. You can't drive as fast as these storms are moving from east to west across the area. This line here coming into Dothan, we'll watch. There are some very gusty winds on the leading edge, likely in excess of 30 to 40 miles per hour, even gradient winds, just normal winds today have been gusting at times over 30 miles per hour. You factor in the downward transfer of momentum in some of these heavier downpours, and that's how you can get wind gusts real quick to go to 50 to 60 miles per hour in a situation like this. There's a lot of wind energy. You go up there a few thousand feet, winds are 70 plus miles per hour, and we're taking some of that from up top and bringing it down to the ground and producing the really strong winds. And we've got these little pockets, rotation potential pockets, and again, there's one, as I watch it, coming right on through the central part now of Houston County, pretty much north of Cottonwood along 53. We'll keep watching that. Sometimes these small areas of rotation become big areas of rotation and can produce isolated tornadoes. So we're watching that threat very closely. Central Houston County, and then back to the west here, there's been some rotation with this line as well as it comes on through the Geneva area, Geneva County southward into Holmes County. So this area now from Hartford southward into the far northern part of Holmes County. Geneva looking pretty good now. Hartford very wet as they go up there towards the Dothan area. Very, very wet as well. And more storminess here east and southeast along 84 in Houston County. And there's that little tiny pocket right through there, right to the north of Cottonwood along 53, not too far from the southeast side of the circle. There's been some rotation, weak rotation with that cell. I'll go to the base velocity view here, and again, just a little hint of rotation with that cell, not enough to warrant a tornado warning, but it's worth watching. And then there's the stronger winds right in through here, that demarcation line moving into the west side of the city of Dothan with the potential for some strong winds as well with that line as it comes on through. And that extends then into Geneva County. What's interesting here is we don't have any severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for the Dothan area, but there's certainly that potential for those winds to be gusting over 60 miles per hour. There's a look again at the velocity view and then the reflectivity view here, the traditional radar view where you see the heavy rainfall, lots of lightning strikes coming on through, a good chunk there of western and northwestern Houston County, the western part of Houston County into parts of Geneva County as well. We will continue to monitor this. We have another newscast coming up at 5 o'clock. That tornado warning that prompted this extended coverage here in Early County is moving out of that area. And again, that rotation really has not tightened up to warrant any kind of an actual tornado threat, which is certainly some good news. We will keep monitoring the velocity data. watching this pocket through here, watching this pocket through here to see if these areas of broad rotation tighten up. And if we get any kind of a sense of a bigger threat developing, we will be back on the TV between now and 6 o'clock. Otherwise, we'll keep watching the radar, and we have our live newscast coming up on WTVY News 4 at 6. Be weather aware. This is not a time to go out and about if you are watching from the Dothan area, because all of this heavy rainfall is moving back into the city of Dothan, and that extends southward into Geneva County, where we have some pockets of hail right there, likely some hail in parts of Geneva County, and also, let's see if we have any signs of anything worse happening there. This is some actually, we might stick with coverage here for a little bit, because this is some pretty good hail showing up on the west side of Hartford, moving right along 52 into Hartford. And when you see that kind of hail, that means you have a pretty good updraft. And when you have a pretty good updraft, that usually leads to a pretty good downdraft, and that can lead to that circulation developing. So I think we will stick with our live coverage here. This is a severe thunderstorm warned cell in Geneva County, and it has the potential, again, the atmosphere is favorable enough to produce not only gusty winds, but perhaps some isolated pockets of rotation, which could lead to isolated tornadoes. So we're watching this area here off of the southwest of Hartford. We have a live cam in Hartford on that side of town, and Zach, maybe you can punch that up. I'm curious to see right there. That's coming right on through where that camera is on the west side of Hartford. Let's go to that full screen, Josh, if you can, and take the Hartford cam. That's the Hartford cam? Wow. Yee, wow. That's dark. It's obviously it's dark outside, but yeah, that's coming down pretty good. Obviously, we can't make out any hail if there's any hail, but that's a very, very, water-saturated column coming on through that part of Geneva County. That is in Hartford. The west side, Wiregrass Electric on the west side there of the city of Hartford. So you get the lightning flashes there, and it looks like maybe the internet's cutting in and out a little bit, but that gives you an idea of what we're seeing there in Geneva County. So I think a lot of you are probably maybe a little nervous right now watching TV, thinking, I don't get off the air, keep going here. So we will, as we have a new severe thunderstorm warning in effect here, a big one. So this area that was not warned a few minutes ago is now warned, because we've got that potential. Really, anywhere within this line, we've got that potential for the winds to gust over 50, maybe 60 miles per hour. Because, again, you go up there 4,000 or 5,000 feet, we've got some really, really strong winds in the atmosphere. Maybe I can show you. Let's see. I think I can with this image right here. So yeah, all right. So this is a look at the radar view, and then what I have plotted underneath are the lower level winds, the low level jet stream winds. And again, those winds are at about 4,500 feet on average. And that core of very strong winds is shifting eastward. And notice how that low level jet just correlates perfectly with the deepest convection, the biggest thunderstorms that we're seeing on the map. That, by the way, drove all those strong cells earlier. It was the main factor to produce all that spin and those long track tornadoes that we saw northward earlier today in Alabama. Now it's producing these gusty winds in our area. It is moving eastward at a pretty good clip. So once it moves on through, it will be done, and we'll get the colder air to come in. But with that low-level jet fueling these showers and storms coming on through, any of these may produce winds in excess of 50 to 60 miles per hour. We have seen that in the past 45 minutes. We have seen that. 50 minutes, we've seen that. As that cell came on through the headland area, it had a wind gust of 63 miles per hour. That's the cell that's way out here now. These cells as well have the potential to produce winds of 50 to 60 miles per hour. In addition to that, we are seeing a lot of lightning from these cells, and we are seeing some hail in pockets also from these cells as they come on through. So if you are in the Dothan area, just stay put. We have some heavy, heavy rainfall there. Not so much northward. It's pretty much now through the city of Dothan, and then points southward. We have some rogue cells out ahead of that main line. Again, that one in Houston County has been showing some signs of some weak rotation. We'll check back on that as well. And maybe this cell by Mayhaw as well, Miller County, is worth watching. Geneva, we are getting out of the worst of the weather. It is shifting eastward. There's that pocket of hail pretty close to Hartford at this point. I'll switch over to the velocity view, and let me animate this as well. It gives you an idea of just how fast this this line is moving. This is a 1-hour animation. One thing that stands out, that area of pink right there, that was the batch of 60-plus mile-per-hour winds that whipped down through Henry County, through Early County, including the city of Blakely. There's that broad area of rotation. You see that right there, the red and the green? That cell still has some rotation with it, and that cell is kind of out on its own ahead of that main line, which is right here. So just from an analysis perspective, we're watching this pocket of rotation right there in central Houston County, pretty close to 84. And let's see, that cell by Miller County, not seeing much, maybe a little hint of some broad rotation on the west side there of Miller County. And then watching this here in Geneva County, this is the actual wind shift line that we're seeing, and this is kind of the demarcation between strong winds and really strong winds as that main line comes in. So more of a wind threat than anything else. There's been a big updraft area and a very strong hail signature right there in Geneva County. Now just to the east of Hartford, that area of dark red showing up. That's some hail showing up in the atmosphere on the Doppler radar. So heads up there, that is moving towards really right along 52. So Slocum over towards Malvern, you will likely get some heavy rainfall and some smaller hail to mix in here in the next 10 minutes or so. Southward, that line extends into the northern part of Holmes County with heavy rainfall and gusty winds here too. The city of Dothan, very wet. The strongest storm in the city is on the north side. A lot of lightning strikes showing up there between, say, downtown and Dothan High, more or less. That area is seeing a lot of lightning extending up there, 431 towards Headland. A lot of lightning in this area. Webb, Ashford, we're watching you as well. That area by Ashford is where we've seen that weak rotation showing up, and there's a look at it just now coming on through Ashford. These are outbound, those are inbound, so some broad rotation, relatively weak, but still watching it towards Ashford. Not seeing any signs of any other rotation or signs of any real strong winds, but this is worth watching here on the east side of Dothan off to the west of Webb. Let me pop up the radar view. So it's that leading edge, it's this line right through here. This line here probably has winds at least over 40 miles per hour. So the leading edge of that rainfall coming on now through the east side of Dothan, approaching Webb at this hour. Heavy rainfall, gusty winds, and there's that cell. Again, not much, but it's that area right now to the east and southeast of Ashford, where we've seen a little bit of a hint of rotation with that cell. And there's a look at it. This is the storm relative velocity. So these are winds blowing up like this. These are winds here blowing down like this. So there is some rotation with this cell. It's not real strong. I can back this up a little bit and show you what we've seen with that. It was showing up there pretty much south of the fairgrounds and now moving up to the northeast. And it really hasn't gotten any more organized, which is good. Maybe a little more organized there, a little bit of a red shaded area showing up. So we'll keep watching that as well. Right along 84, now to the east of Ashford. Otherwise, a lot of rainfall, a lot of lightning strikes, a big severe thunderstorm warning in effect with this cell. We've got a live newscast coming up at 6. We will carry this live coverage into that newscast, and then we'll run the news through, and we'll have weather updates as well as we go through the newscast. Zach, you've been monitoring storm reports and a whole lot else. What do you have?
Yeah, 3 of them just kind of came through recently here. So first one was 4 miles west-southwest of Blue Springs Road in Barber County. There was a damage along County Road 23 near New Hope Church, and that's where that TDS, tornado debris signature, was observed. Then another one 3 miles south of Texasville, damage reported along Mavis Carroll Road in Barber County. Then the last one, damage at Baker Hill School Road and County Road 79 in Baker Hill there in Barber County. So we saw that little batch of showers and storms move through there with some strong winds. So I think this is the product of what we've been dealing with here. And there's several more reports. I'm still going through them all. There's around 83. A lot of them are probably out of our area, but maybe a few are kind of stuck with us here in our area. But a lot to go through. There's been reports of wind gusts around 63 miles per hour in Headland, 55 at the Dothan Airport. A couple other spots in Dale County where there's been gusts around 50. And that's just what we know so far. I mean, every time you get one of these Boeing features, as these winds surge out ahead of the line there, it gives you that focal point for the stronger winds as it curves forward. And that's what we're seeing on this view, particularly here, moving toward Ashford, as each scan shows it moving further to the east. And also by Ashford, we have that area of rotation. It's not impressive, but for the last 4 or 5 minutes, it's been noticeable on radar. So we're going to have to keep our eyes on that one. I'll check in different things here.
We're on max 2, Zach.
Oh, yeah. I was like, where's the mouse at?
Yeah, you see that pocket, you were talking about those winds, and all of a sudden you watch a storm and you see some brightening on the radar where the winds are increasing, or at least they show up better on radar. So between Haleburg and Columbia, you saw me plotting some of these numbers here. These are winds indicated by radar of 50 to 60 miles per hour. And that correlates, I should say, with the leading edge of this line of storms. So I would extend that same type of wind from this area all the way through now the central part of Houston County and then down there into Geneva County, where these winds likely along the leading edge of this cell, even down into this area here, likely 50 to even 60 miles per hour. So damaging straight line winds, that continues to be the main threat that we're seeing in the Wiregrass. So think about your home. I've mentioned this before today. Any trees on the west side of your home, those are the ones that could catch that wind and fall, and they would fall from west to east. So if you're on the west side of your house, northwest side of your house, you've got a big tree outside, that's the one that you have to worry about, because given the wind flow, they would be falling from west to east. And some of these winds here, very strong as well in Geneva County, and within that cell in Geneva County, there's been some indication of some hail, maybe nickel-sized hail, maybe a bit larger in spots here. You see the dark red showing up. That's come on through the Slocum area, now east and northeast, and then south and southeast of Slocum. There's some hail in this cell. That is moving up there towards Malvern, pretty much right along 52. Let me back this up just a few frames, and you can kind of see the movement there. It was in Hartford, then it came out through Slocum, now moving up there towards Malvern and areas south as well. Fayette, for example, likely to see some of this heavy rainfall and that hail threat come on through. There's a look at Slocum, and there's a look at, let's see, Marist Crossroads right there. There's Malvern, there's Fayette. So this area here will likely see some of that hail move on through. And we don't have a real good view of the velocity because the radar beam is this way and the winds are blowing this way. So when it's perpendicular like that, you don't get a real good reading of what the winds are. You want the radar beam to be parallel with the winds, and that's just not occurring here. So keep that in mind. But I can tell you that given what we're seeing in other parts of the Wiregrass where we've got good radar data with that radar beam parallel to the winds, basically here we're looking at winds probably in excess of 50 to 60 miles per hour. So east of Slocum, Malvern southward, this is almost like a bit of a Boeing segment right in through here. Those winds probably in excess of 60 miles per hour. The worst of that will be from Fayette northward to about Malvern. That stretch will see these winds come on through, and within that batch of heavy rainfall, we've got some hail as well coming on through, and that will carry then back into Houston County, the central part and southern part of Houston County, as this line is moving more or less to the east-northeast at about 60 miles per hour. Very, very quickly. This is a 1-hour animation. The storms really came together pretty good in the past hour, because an hour ago we had smaller cells with only a few pockets of really gusty winds. Now we have a thicker band, and we have a lot gustier winds within that band because it is able to tap into that wind energy above, and it's really making full use of that wind above, and it's transferring that down to the ground and producing these damaging wind gusts. So over the next hour or so, we'll have one more hour where areas central and east will be impacted by these gusty winds and the lightning strikes and the heavy rainfall. And this type of rain, where it's kind of training over the same areas, can produce some significant totals, 2-3 inches in the span of an hour. That, of course, leads to ponding on roadways, and if you're on a dirt road, it can lead to a lot worse if you happen to slide off. So if you have anywhere to go, I mean, we've been telling you about this for days. Hopefully you can kind of stay put where you are until this passes. Once this passes, that's it, all right? You're done. So Dothan about to be out of this in about 20 or 30 minutes. It gets a whole lot better by 6:30 compared to right now. It's way better now in Enterprise. It's way better in Daleville. It's better in Coffee Springs, and it's really rapidly improving here in Geneva as well. So it's right along this line, and then areas east that will see the worst weather come on through. Over the next hour, most areas by 7 o'clock will be in the clear. But short term, again, lots of rainfall, lots of lightning, some hail there approaching Taylor and Rehoboth as well. And of course, those lightning strikes can be dangerous. We'll keep watching the rotation potential as well. We have News 4 at 6 coming up. How many seconds out are we? We're good to go. Let's roll the open.
From your hometown news leader, News 4 begins with a forewarned weather alert.
We've been tracking these showers and storms coming on through. Taylor, it's been a busy day.
It has been very busy, David. Tonight, like you said, we're tracking that severe weather moving through our state, including our area here in the Wiregrass. And you've been tracking these storms all day long. So I guess let's go back over to you and just kind of give us a recap of what you've been seeing and what we can expect the next couple of minutes and hours.
Yeah, hopefully everything is pretty much gone in the next hour. Today we've seen a lot of rainfall. Let's go over to Max 2 if you can in the back there, Josh. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, we've seen a lot of rainfall today, heavy downpours, lots of lightning strikes coming through as well. Or Zach, you can run that for me. Okay, that's good. Let's go with this. A couple of severe thunderstorm warnings still ongoing here. The central part of the Wiregrass, eastward and southward, that threat will continue for the next hour, maybe hour, 10 minutes or so. Heavy rainfall, tremendous lightning out there. And within this line, these winds are gusting in pockets in excess of 60 miles per hour. And that's been the main concern today. This is a look at the winds now. These are winds in the atmosphere, and you see some areas of pink here. This is where we have the winds blowing at 60 plus miles per hour, and that actually extends southward. It doesn't show up real well on that radar view, but it actually extends southward here into Houston and Geneva counties, where we have that lightning that's really intense in Geneva County. We also have the potential for a little bit of hail. We've seen that around the Slocum area towards Malvern right now, Taylor and Rehoboth, this little pocket of dark red, and this is the area that we'll continue to monitor for maybe some rotation, broad rotation that tries to organize a bit more here as we go through the next half hour. But some hail in that dark red area, pretty close to Rehoboth at this point, and then 109 southward, some heavy rainfall heading south of Rehoboth. And then within this band here, very gusty winds. That's now east of Slocum, likely here, 60 plus mile per hour wind potential, and also over there towards Ashford, some very heavy rainfall in Houston County. So we will continue to monitor the radar. I've got a lot more coverage of the storminess coming up, and some good news too in the 7-day forecast in just a bit, Taylor.
Yeah, take a breather for a minute. We'll handle this for a few minutes. Thanks, David.
Yeah.